All right, we're live. Hey,
Okay.
hey, Pablo.
Hi, Luke.
Good to have you, pal. Uh, Kathy has confirmed that we are live, so I think that means that we really are. We were just talking about Kathy's employment contract, but good thing we did that off air. Uh, yeah, so today we're going to be doing something that's a bit different from what we usually do. I do a lot of English lessons and answering questions about English, and that's great. And I like doing that, but I want to try something else. So we're going to be doing a conversation of a TV series that we've both watched called Sandman. Uh, who watched it first? Did I watch it, and then how did that happen? How did we find out that we had both watched it?
Oh, I can't remember now.
Oh, I know what it was. You said I think in the group chat that you're in, has anyone
Yes.
seen Sandman? And I said I have seen it. I had just finished I think the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
So
You
we're
like
gonna be
it
talking about it.
a lot.
Huh?
You said you are thinking about rewatching it.
Yeah, I rewatched parts of it. I didn't rewatch the entire first season,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some episodes that I didn't enjoy as much, but I think there's a lot of interesting ideas that I hope we can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So those watching, if you haven't seen Sandman, you know you can turn this off and go and watch it and come back, or we're gonna have a discussion, and then maybe after you might be interested to watch it, and then you can think back on this conversation when you're watching it, or not, or do whatever you want. I don't care. Uh, well, I think Pablo, maybe the best place to start would be to just give the. I mean, let's assume that a fair amount of people haven't and maybe won't watch it. All right, because it's a fairly long series. Not everyone has the time. People need to watch Desperate Housewives of Salt Lake City or whatever they need to watch. My 600 Pound Life. Those are important shows. Have you ever seen that one, by the way?
No, anyone.
Okay, yeah, you got to check
No,
that out.
anyone.
Any of
No,
them, yeah. It's
any
My
of
600 Pound Life is about people who are 600 pounds. That's not. It's not supposed to be funny. It's real. It's real.
how many kilograms is that?
That's a good question. How many kilograms is 600 pounds? 272 kilograms.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And so it's a journey to try to lose weight. You have to
How
get a
many looks?
surgery.
How many looks is that amount?
That's It's only one. I have each of my legs is 250 pounds. Um,
We know,
it's all in the feet.
this camera angle we have. We don't know how much is your body to the sides.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And it's fairly normal down to the waist, but as soon as it gets to the waist, that my each of my legs are it's gigantic.
That's
uh,
impressive.
it's an issue for sure. Anyway, yeah. So I think maybe a good thing to do would be to give a basic overview, a synopsis. Not that we need to talk about the entire story, but just kind of what the whole series is about, so that people have a sense of what it is, so that they know, because it kind of anchors the conversation a little bit. Do you want to? Do you want to
Yes,
attempt that?
I will try, but I think I will say something that is very personal. But I think the series is about how dreams are important to human life.
And when you say dreams, what sense do you mean that in? Because their dream has two meanings. One meaning is my dream of what
Mhm.
I want in life or what I hope to achieve in the future, and the other is what happens when I go to sleep.
Exactly. Yes. And that's also some interesting thing of the series because the main character is like a god, right? It's like a
He's called an
anthropomorphic.
endless. Yeah.
Yes, an endless anthropomorphic personification. How they say that in one chapter.
Yeah.
Um,
Anthropomorphic is when you take something natural and you humanify it. You give it a personality or human traits. Like you
mhm.
say, that tree is a lonely old man. You're kind of anthropomorphizing the tree or saying the tree feels lonely or something like that.
Yes. So they say the main character is dreams itself, right?
A dream is the main character's name. He has a couple different names. The main character's name is Dream Morpheus.
Morpheus.
He's also called
Mhm.
Morpheus, which is the same name as the Neo's teacher in the Matrix. His name is also
Mhm.
Morpheus,
Yes.
and I think that's interesting. Why that would be, and I think his other name is
Sandman.
Sandman, of course. Yeah, Sandman, the name of the show. But the whole name Dream is Dream of the Endless. Of the Endless being
Oh, yes.
there's a group of these beings, let's say, who are
Mhm.
called endless, and it's not very clearly defined what they are, but as you said, it's like the personification, anthropomorphization of this collective idea of that thing. Death
Mhm.
being one, dream being one, desire being
Mhm.
one, despair. What are some of the other ones?
Destiny, and distraction.
Destiny, distraction, and then uh, Satan or Lucifer
Lucifer.
Morningstar is not one of the endless, right? That's a
No,
high sort of higher level, on the
no.
level almost of getting
No,
closer to.
that's not clear, I think, but
My
I don't
understanding
care.
is my understanding is that it's all kind of real. God, Zeus, the Greek gods, the Christian God, it's all kind of real because it comes from people's minds.
Yes,
Maybe.
I've read something about that. In this universe, the endless are more important than the other gods because many gods exists because humans believe in them. But the endless exists anyway, right?
I think that's what it is, and maybe that's because I'm gonna show the dude. This is the main character dream.
If
Cool
you don't
hair.
believe in death or in dreams, you'll dream anyway and you'll die anyway.
Yes, or maybe maybe those are things that are kind of shared by all humans, no matter what. So yes, since we die, there's death. Since we all sleep and dream, then dream exists. And so it's almost like a more important level than Zeus, because if people stop believing in Zeus or some ancient god, that Mesopotamian god like Ishtar or something, uh,
Hmm.
then Ishtar doesn't exist anymore. But maybe Ishtar used to exist because people used to worship Ishtar or Zeus.
Exactly.
So if there's, I
Yes.
wonder if there's even one person who still believes in Zeus. If there's a little tiny Zeus kind of running around somewhere, because one person still believes.
Do you think there is one person in the world still believing in Zeus?
There's got to be at least one. I can't. Yeah, definitely. I know for sure that there are people who still believe in the Norse gods like Thor and
Oh,
Odin and Freya and Loki and that the Norse gods, which by the way the author who wrote this story, Neil Gaiman, I believe is his name. He wrote
yes.
another book about Norse mythology. He retold a bunch of the Norse myths, and that one's actually really good. I read that one.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, there are a lot of people who still believe in that. So maybe
you said you read a comic of Neil Gaiman.
it's not a comic. It's that one was just an not really a novel. It's just a retelling of Norse myths. The
Hmm.
story of Ragnarok and Thor and Loki and Odin. He retells a lot of the stories.
Like
Um,
prose.
yeah, but it's not a continuous. It's not like there's one character and it goes throughout. It's different stories, and he tells them in book form, basically.
Hmm.
Okay, so we got the endless dream. Anything else that is important for the basic
Yes, I think there is
synopsis?
something very interesting and important that this character, Dream, he is related to all the things that are not real.
Mhm.
Imagination, dreams, life also are his domains, right?
Right. And the sort of I didn't get this for the first couple episodes. I didn't understand what they were talking about, but finally I understood that the place that this place where he is ruler or his realm, which is what they call it, the realm is called the dreaming. That's what it's called. But that for each person, for the night version of dreaming, when you go to sleep, it's almost like you have your it's like everyone has their own Facebook account, right? And everyone is on Facebook. Well, not everyone. Most people over the age of 60 are on Facebook, and but each one has their own account, their own individual account, and that's how it works for the dreaming. The dreaming is this whole realm, which I think
Hmm.
is like the collective unconscious, Carl Jung's collective unconscious, and then everyone has their own instance of it with walls around it, like a Facebook account that other people cannot get into.
Mm, yes.
I think that's how it works. So we'll get into the psychology part of it, I think, but yeah, that's important. I mean, do you think it's worth mentioning the point of it all, like the basic premise of the show? I mean, it's not just this dream guy sitting around in his realm. It seems to be little stories that happen, different stories that happen to different people related to him after he is imprisoned by a
Hmm.
human magic user.
Yes, I think the main arc story is not very interesting for me.
What
The that
which main arc?
the main arc story is like he lost. No, he is captive, right?
So,
Captive.
so so yeah, there's a guy named Roderick Burgess who is a magic user who captures him and holds him prisoner for he and then his son hold him prisoner for over 100 years,
Yes, and when
naked for
he
some reason. It's weird.
very skinny,
Yeah, he's very skinny.
and
Was his
when
body?
he
Do you think that was a CGI body, or was that his real body? Does he actually look like that?
I don't know, but I know some actors make a very extreme diet in order to get that body, right?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that would be a good sort of way to a weight loss program. Um, uh, I've thought about starting a company for weight loss where a movie company calls you and asks you to be in a movie and tells you that you have to lose 60 pounds by whenever the movie starts filming, like June 30th, because you're going to be in a movie, and then, they hang up, and you have to believe it, but it never happens. It's a lie, but you get it. You reach the goal. Because it seems like being
You
in a movie is the best motivator.
you will need to lose like 500 pounds, right?
Yeah. I think I would just cut the legs off, and then I'll be fine. Get new robo
So
legs. Yeah.
um, so he when he finally achieves, no, uh, he's trying
Escapes.
to,
He escapes.
yeah,
Yeah.
when he finally escapes,
Well,
um,
he doesn't. Does he? Yeah, I guess he does escape. He's not released. He's escaped, right?
yes, yes, yes. I was trying to say that he makes that, he achieves that.
He gets out. Yeah.
Okay, and he has lost his tools.
Right. That's an important plot point. He has several tools that he needs to do his thing. A
Yes, but all that stuff, I did not like it a
So
lot.
you mean the main plot point of him being in prison, and then when he gets out, he's on a mission to get his
Yeah,
tools back and rebuild his
yes,
his previous strength. Get
yes.
his.
That was like boring to me. But
You mean the main
thanks
part of
to
the show is boring to you? Okay, cool.
because I liked a lot that chapter named 2024, the
The
episode
the episode is called 24/7. Yeah.
24/7. I don't know why 7
Oh, 24/7. It means 24 hours a
every
day,
time. Yes,
days a week. So if you say
yes.
this
But
shop is open 24/7, yeah,
it was only one day.
I know, but the diner is open 24/7.
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
It's a
Thanks.
24/7 that kind of diner. Some of
Mm,
those we'll get to that episode because that's an important one where people kind of lose their minds. There's an episode that takes place almost completely in a diner, and it's pretty horrifying. And that type of diner where people eat is a 24. That's called a 24-hour diner or a
oh,
24/7 diner.
okay, so they are at a 24/7.
They're at a 24/7 diner.
Ah, diner. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The place that they are is a diner.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We don't have
Um.
here that kind of places. It
Well.
is very typical of your country.
Oh, diners are everywhere. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So where do you eat if you want to? If you're hungry at 3 in the morning, where do you go?
We have like
24
20,
24-hour convenient,
but
like
24
seven.
hours, not 7. It is called 24 hours.
Okay.
And you can go there and eat some hamburger or like a hot
Is it
dog.
like a restaurant or a convenience store?
It's like more like a takeaway store, but with a bar. Few people can sit there and eat. But I have like 4 blocks from my house. I have like a 24 hours barbecue. It's amazing.
That's nice. That's nice. So
Yes,
if you need something in the middle of the night, you can get it.
yes. You can go and eat some chorizo,
Nice
like
chorizo. I love chorizo. Yeah.
chorizo. Yes, and yes, um, barbecue.
The
Good
only
one.
thing I have near me now is pears. I can go into the backyard and pick some pears. That's about
That's
it.
great. It's
Yeah.
it's it is now the
No, they're too
season.
small. Yeah. Be like as hard as rocks. Um, okay, so I think that's a pretty good overview. Guy named Dream, main character, Lord of the Dreaming, kind of a godlike character, but not really, who's going around after he is imprisoned by a magic user, trying to get his tools back, a ruby, some sand, and a really weird looking hat called a helm. Uh,
Yes.
it's a very strange helmet that he wears for some reason. And then there's some. I mean, there are a lot of other things that happen, but that's I think the basic premise. So I have some questions that I'm personally interested in discussing. If you have some too, that's great. But I have some things
Mm-hmm.
I wanna talk about. So number one, he's put in to this prison by this wizard guy named what is his name? His name is Roderick Burgess.
Mm-hmm. The
I think
Magus.
he's similar. He's like a John Dee character, kind of a magic user. Uh, we'll talk more about John Dee later, but John Dee was the astrologer for Elizabeth I. There
Oh,
is a character in this show named John Dee, actually, which is interesting.
oh.
But that John Dee in this show has, I think, nothing to do with John Dee,
Mm-hmm.
except one thing, which maybe we can talk about later. But what is the point, or what is the meaning of a human being able to capture a god or a powerful being like this and imprison them? I thought that was interesting. I haven't thoughts about it, but I'm curious if that caught your attention at all. Why would a human be able to
Mm.
use magical spells to capture a such a powerful being?
Well, I think there is something interesting that when they capture one of these entities or these beings, that thing related to them, like dreams, uh, are happening even if they are captured,
Right,
right?
people are still dreaming.
Yes, they are still dreaming, but he's not supervising, right? Inspecting, overseeing.
Overseeing is a good word. I like that one. Yeah, yeah, overseeing.
Yes,
Because it's not
he's
like
not.
he's controlling the dreams. He's not pulling all the levers and pushing all the buttons. He's just he's kind of in charge of the vibe or
Mm,
whatever it is.
yes, but if something goes out of control, he has to resolve that.
Right, right. He's there to make sure that things are in balance and that the light and the dark are in balance and dreams
Mm-hmm.
are uh, not causing problems for humanity. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was so I was wondering why why start with that. And I haven't read the comic book, so I don't know if there's actually an explanation. But I was thinking maybe it's a way to the show starts with that this powerful being captured by a magic user. It feels to me like making it clear how important the not people are individually, but the ideas that people have are. So if you get the right ideas together, which would be doing magic. When you do magic, you maybe do some spells and you've got some, I don't know, crystals or sticks or whatever. If you get the right pieces together, you use your mind and you have ideas and you put them in the right order, you can accomplish anything, whether it's something good or something evil. You can do the something almost on the level of a god if you do it in the right way, in the right order. In this case, it's a kind of evil thing because he's holding a very powerful person, a powerful being in this bubble for 100 years. So it's not good, but
Mm.
I think it's trying to say actually there isn't a big difference between the gods or these beings or humans. The important thing is the power of the idea or the thought or the order of ideas. And then if we focus on that, then we're in the right frame of mind to start thinking
Mhm.
about dreams and start thinking about stories. We're now less focused on this person and that person and what did they do. We're now focused on the bigger picture, which is the stories, the ideas, and how they interact with each other. That was my thought, because that's what magic is. If in Harry Potter, you say some words, and the words go with your wand. You need a wand, so you need to have a thing in your hand, and you need to have an intention in your head, and you need to say the right thing. Then something will happen. You create a light, or you make something explode. But that's the way that anything works. If you have a plan, and then
Mm.
you ask two of your smartest friends about what they think, and then they give you their advice, and you do a little research, and then you get a $10,000 investment from your rich uncle, and you put all those things together, you start a company that then is worth $2 billion in 5 years. That's what it is. It's the same thing. It's the idea and the way that the pieces are put together, and it's,
Mhm.
I think, an interesting way to start a show like this.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what
great.
I thought about. Yeah. Um, anything on the anything on the beginning of the show, the first episode, the second episode, him being in prison or escaping?
I think it is interesting that they are trying to capture death and not dream.
Right. Oh, that's right. They were trying to capture death,
Mhm.
and he mistakenly caught. Why was he trying to capture death? Do you remember? I forgot about that.
Yes, because his
Death is his
son,
sister.
oh, his son, yes, yes, death is his sister, the sister of Dream. But
Yeah.
this Magus, I can't remember the name, is trying to capture death because his son has died,
Right.
and he wants him to get back to life again.
Right.
And it's very interesting that humans want to destroy death. So if death is really aware, if death were really an entity like in this series, I think it will be realistic to think that humans would try to capture her.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe capture but not destroy. Is we want. I mean, is that unnatural to want to uh control death? I guess that's what we're doing with modern medicine, right?
Exactly.
We're trying to control
Yes.
death.
And perhaps you don't know, but they talk about the prodigal brother, the
Yes.
prodigal son. He is distraction. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that. Did you do some reading elsewhere? How do you know that?
Yes, yes, I did. I did some reading and
That's cheating.
distraction. I don't know because we don't know if we are going to have a second season.
Right. Yeah. Oh, what do they say about because they mention the other one, but we don't know anything about it. What do they say?
His distraction, and he is retired because distraction was supposed to exist in order to distract something and then construct. Yeah, yes, like
Destroy and then build.
exactly. So when humans started to manipulate distraction in a way that is only for distraction, this entity, this being, the endless distraction, said, I can't hold, no, like
Wait. Sorry. Did you say distraction or destruction?
destruction. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
destruct. I thought you said distraction. I thought with distraction.
No,
Oh, this
no,
is
no,
like
no, no, sorry.
a professor who's
Destruction.
who's on Adderall and drinking too much coffee. I was excited
This,
for that.
yes,
Destruction.
this,
Okay, destroying
oh,
things. Yeah.
yes. He can't handle it anymore. Like in contemporary world, humans can destroy things, and they are destroying and not thinking about destroy in order to build something new. So he retires. He says, I can't do it anymore. I can't oversee, right, this thing.
So there seems to be a common sort of trend of, or a common theme of the changing role of humans in relation
Mhm.
to nature or the whole world is that we are going from being animals to being gods and are sort of in the process of going from just kind of existing in the same level as maybe the cats in the last episode. We're on that level, and then we're kind of in a changing process. And because we're in
Mhm.
this changing process, it's messing up the world of dreams and destruction and death. It's kind of messing with that world because we're kind of becoming like gods almost in some ways.
Yes, and we think as humans, we think we want to manipulate death, manipulate destruction, but we don't know the importance of dreaming
Right.
or of fiction, imagination, right?
Stories.
Stories. So this series, I think, are about that,
Yes.
like to notice how dreaming is important in human emotions and life.
Uh, yeah, I think so. I think so. Well, not only emotions. Emotions are one thing because you know tigers have emotions and shrimp probably have emotions, but it's
I
about
don't know.
they might.
Emotion.
You don't
Yes.
know. Who
Yes.
who are we to say?
Also,
Cats
on the
obviously
story.
do. Yeah. Well, I think the important the I it goes back to kind of what I said. It's um the way that our emotions interact with our higher mind, which some would call the reasonable mind or reason. So reason and our emotions are interacting, and we create maybe a story or a dream using reason fueled by our emotions. We make plans for the future. We make connections between events and people, and this is
Mm.
a higher level or a higher order activity that uses the reason, the human reason, the frontal neocortex, and but that's being fueled by the emotional mind. And sometimes the emotional mind gets out of control. Sometimes the rational mind goes too far, and so the story or the dream is a way to kind of maybe move between them, to mediate between them. I think maybe.
Mhm. So
Could we? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm thinking about this. What do you think? If dream is the master of imagination,
Hmm.
why Lucifer fights against him in a battle of imagination?
Maybe that's a good question. Yeah, so maybe I can bring that up. So there at one point there's a boss battle, for lack of a better way to say it, between Dream and Lucifer, or the devil, Lucifer, the king or queen, in this case queen of hell,
Lady
and
Brienne.
Lady Brienne from Game of Thrones. She does a pretty good job, I think. And they
Mhm.
get into basically a duel of thoughts, where they have to one up each other and see who can come up with the thing that trumps or beats the previous thing that was said. Uh, I think the winning idea is pizza, right? That's the last thing he says, pizza, and that beats everything. Um,
Here I played a game once that was exactly that game they played in the battle.
I was kind of confused. I didn't understand. It seemed kind of forced and a little silly. That part I didn't really enjoy that much.
No, I didn't.
How do you
Also,
actually how do you play that game?
you have to say something, and the other has to say something bigger or more important in some sense.
But that's so subjective.
Yes, but that's fun.
Okay,
The
let's
fact
just do
that
it. Let's do a couple. Let's just try
no,
it. I'm
I'm
curious.
very bad. I'm very
You
bad at
start.
it.
You just give me one thing, and I'll let's just try it. I'm curious.
No, 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 no,
Go
no.
go go.
I feel very not creative when playing that because I played with people very, very creative. They said some things very funny, but yes, we can try.
So what beats the other person is not that it's actually better or greater, but people go, ah, yeah, that is better. People agree with it.
Exactly.
It's
Yes, it
subjective.
must
Okay.
be creative and fun. Yes.
Uh, all right. Well, I'm just curious. What if we start with? Do we have? Does it have to be non-physical things like emotions or?
I think it can be anything exactly like in the series.
Okay. Um,
Series. Can you
series.
series? Okay.
So like
They start with something like what is the first a wolf.
a wolf, and then I would say uh, a wolf because it's fierce and it attacks. I would say a tree because anything that's up in a tree is out of reach of a wolf because wolves can't climb trees.
Hmm. Okay, so I will say an ant.
An ant. An ant. Why is an ant better than a tree?
It can walk
Y-
and speak.
Uh, ants can speak.
Yes or not?
Ants can't speak. You mean like the little insect, little bugs?
No, 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 no. Ant of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, an ant. Okay.
An ant.
Oh, all right. Well, an ant is not, it's a fictional being. So you have to assume that I know Lord of the Rings in order for you to use that.
Yes,
If I say I
sorry.
don't know what that is, then you don't win, right? That's a risky one.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to go with a flamethrower in that case, because flamethrowers uh, can burn down anything made of wood.
Yes, and I will finish the game here. You are the winner because I feel very dumb playing this.
I do too. I don't get the game because it seems like it could just go around in little loops where it's just, oh yeah, well your flamethrower doesn't have any fuel. Oh yeah, well your fuel is made of. It just seems like it could go around in little loops and wouldn't
Yes,
actually get bigger.
in that it was a birthday, a party, a birthday of and the people there were actors,
Oh okay.
so they were great improvisers, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that was very fun. And the way they said the things was funny also.
Well, I guess it works in a TV series because they're just reading lines, so they have to react like that. Well, I want to get back to some of the. I want to get back to some of the ideas from the show. So we talked about what the dreaming is. It's this realm of dream. Um, but he also has creations inside the dreaming. One is Lucien, sort of his librarian, who is actually kind of an admin character, administrator of the dreaming while he's in prison. And then there's the Corinthian, who is a nightmare who has oh you have regular eyes, you don't have teeth for eyes, who
Exactly.
who has he has two mouths with teeth instead of eyeballs, and he goes around killing men and removing their eyes
And eating them.
and eating their eyes. Does he eat them? He eats them with his mouth or with his eyes?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't
Uh.
notice that he has teeth in the eyes.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah.
didn't.
He
Didn't.
has teeth for eyes. His eyes are. It's two sets of teeth if you look carefully.
Wow.
The other characters in the dreaming are there are some minor characters like uh, Pumpkinhead is one. Pumpkinhead played by actually played by Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Where's my Pumpkinhead? Yeah, he's kind of out of frame there. I got a bad picture, but he's got a pumpkin head and he has a New York accent. And then there's the
It's
bird.
like the CGI.
Yeah, he's CGI. The bird Matthew, who's kind of like a, a messenger, goes back and forth between the two worlds. Are there any others that I'm missing? I think those are the main ones, right?
Do you remember that in Game of Thrones they sent crows
As
also?
messengers, yeah, yeah.
I wonder
No,
if
they send ravens, not crows.
Raven. Oh, it's true.
A little
I,
different
I
than a
wonder
crow.
if those birds can send a message like doves.
I think they do in well, I mean, in Game of Thrones that they are that they're kind of messengers. Send a raven. They go back and forth.
Yes.
Um, I have a picture of just
I don't
the
know the difference
raven.
between a raven and a crow.
I'm not totally sure what the difference is either. Okay, so this is his raven, who is a person who died. Yeah, so anyway, all of these characters are part of the dreaming and they have roles to play. What did you make of that part of it? The different characters representing different parts of the unconscious, or so I think that part of this, and they even mention it in the series, the collective unconscious is an important idea from Carl Jung. Carl Jung is he was a psychologist, famous philosopher, psychologist, who developed the idea of a collective unconscious, which is the idea that inside our minds or our psyches, there are two main parts. There's the part above the surface and the part below the surface. Above the surface is the conscious mind, the ego. Below the surface, the unconscious. And then the things inside, there's the shadow, there's the anima, the animus. Anima and animus are sort of like if you're a man, you have an anima inside, which is your female part, and if you're a woman, you have an animus inside, which is your male part, your masculine or male side, and all of this stuff interacts and comes out in dreams. So when you dream, your dream is telling you something about what's going on in your life, and the things that are in the dreams are just symbols. And the symbols will tell you they represent things that tell you how to find a balance, a healthy balance in yourself. So if you dream about maybe getting attacked by a pack of wild horses, and then your arms fall off and you can't move, there are different symbols interacting with each other. And if you can get feedback from maybe a friend you talk to, and they can tell you maybe it's this, maybe it's that, if you feel, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. If you've ever talked to a friend about their dream, they told you their dream, they say I have no idea what this means, then you think, well, maybe it could be that the the exploding building represents something about, your parents and your sense of safety. If that makes sense to them, and they say, yeah, that makes sense, then it's true, it's real, because it makes sense. So so that's what's
That's
happening in the unconscious, and there are these different parts, but then the collective unconscious are the things that all people share. So all people share another layer of unconscious, and that's where myths and stories come out of. So when you see a symbol like a cross, if you grew up in Western culture, that might grab you and mean something to you, because inside, you're part of this collective unconscious, and dreams have turned into myths and stories throughout human history. And so when you see certain things, they grab onto you. That's why you get a book like Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces, where all of these stories and myths have these common features and patterns. If you look around the world, one story resembles another. The shape of the story is similar to another. The hero always leaves his village, and after he leaves his village, he finds an old teacher, an old wise teacher who shows him something, and then he tries to do something and he fails. And in his failure, he learns or gets the thing he needs to try again and ultimately be successful. When he's successful, he defeats the thing, he gets the thing, and he brings it back to his village, and now his village is re-energized because he did the thing. So, and that's true for myths around the world. That's the idea, that these things are kind of coming out of this collective unconscious. So in this show, I think each person's dreams are their own, but then they're also part of this whole world, which is the dreaming. And I think these different creations that he has, nightmares and the crow, the messenger between the two, and the librarian that's organizing everything, I think these are meant to be kind of symbols inside of the collective unconscious that we're supposed to see and go, oh yeah, I kind of get what that is, or why this character is there. Right? Like the pumpkin bug guy, he's just cleaning. He's not doing anything important or cool. He's just sweeping the floor. But you feel like it's important that he's there doing that, right?
yes.
Yeah.
I wanted. I was thinking about something funny that when my girlfriend awakes, she always remember her dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and when she tells me her dreams, she doesn't know the meaning or the reason, and it's always so obvious, very very obvious to
You
me.
mean to you?
Yes, to me it's incredibly obvious, but she doesn't realize that it's very funny.
Yeah, I think that's a
I
common thing. People don't see what their own dreams mean, but other people might have some interesting insights about that.
I say like yesterday you told me this and you dreamed that, and she says, "Oh yes, of course."
Yeah. When you're able to identify something insightful or interesting about someone's dreams, and they say, "Oh, yeah," that you're making a little connection for them
Mm,
that is going to maybe help them. If it's
mm,
important, it might help them
mhm.
reflect, think about themselves, find something that they didn't see
You know,
before.
there is some concept that I was thinking while watching the series. It's about that term, that word dream, like, oh, my dream is that I could do this thing. And uh, before watching the show, I never thought about this like something interesting, you know?
You mean the meaning of dream as in something that we wish for in the future?
Exactly. But watching the show, I was thinking that you can have a lot of nightmares and a lot of nice dreams. But when the nice dream is about something you really desire to happen in real world, it is very strong, and it happens sometimes. And the same with nightmares. You can have nightmares about a lot of uh, things, like cryptic or symbolic, that you need to analyze.
Or have somebody else analyze for you,
Exactly.
like
But
your
if you
girlfriend?
have the exact nightmare of something that you are very afraid of, is so strong. It's incredibly strong. And I had that kind of dreams, that more literally that things I desire or I'm afraid of, right?
Yeah, and those, when you have those and they're very powerful, they stay with you for
Mm-hmm.
days. And
Yeah.
for days they're in your head and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do about it. And they have
Yes.
a kind of that kind of dream, whether it's a good dream or a bad dream, has a kind of shining quality where if it was a really good dream and it felt very meaningful for me, what I want to do is, if I have a second, I just want to look out the window and think about it, because it's like I got a shiny object and I just want to kind of look at it, and it gives me a sense of meaning. But why
Mm-hmm.
should that stupid thing that happened when I was sleeping have that quality, right? It's weird. And then a negative dream or a nightmare, it can throw you completely off for 1 or 2 or maybe 3 days. It can negatively affect you. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a bad drug trip almost. It can screw you up. But it shares the same quality as having a real dream in life, as in something you want to achieve. Is that thing, as you said, that thing you want to achieve, you've built a little imaginary path from yourself to that thing in the future. And when you think about it, it has that same kind of shiny golden quality. And I want to start my own shop repairing shoes. When another person hears that, they think, that's so stupid. Why would you want to do that? It means nothing to them. But when you think about it, because it's powerful for you, it's got a kind of glow, a golden glow. And that's weird. You can't share it with anybody. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think though a dream at night and that kind of dream has that same kind of quality. And a nightmare has the same quality as a fear. If you're an anxious person, you're always worrying that something bad is going to happen to you. It's like a monster tracking you in a nightmare. It's a
Mm-hmm.
monster that's chasing you that never actually gets there, and it can ruin your day. It can make you feel stressed. It can kill you if it gives you too much stress. It's
Mm.
quite interesting how those two things kind of actually feel the same.
Yes, yes, for sure. And it's interesting that Dream says that it's important that nightmares do right their job.
Right. At the end, not to spoil it, well, spoilers. At the end, before before he doesn't kill the Corinthian, but before he kind of takes him out, and because Dream created Corinthian, this guy that we're looking at here, and Corinthian is going around killing people and eating their eyeballs, and he's not supposed to do that. He's doing it selfishly. He got his own ideas. He's not fulfilling his purpose. And finally, Dream catches up with him. I don't have any glasses to put on. Dream catches up with him and unmakes him, right? Turns him into a little skull. And it's not because he was doing bad things. It's because he wasn't. There you go.
No.
That kind of works. It's not because it's fine to do bad things. In fact, he's a nightmare, so he's supposed to be terrible and scary. But he asks him right before he unmakes him, "What have you wrought?" That means, and I thought that was really cool. So there are two sides to everything. A good dream is great, but you need the other side. It's two opposites that come together. This idea is also very important in alchemy. You have anything must be defined by its opposite. Darkness is defined by lightness, lightness defined by darkness, positive defined by negative, negative defined by positive, good dreams defined by bad dreams. And so when he says, "What have you wrought?" if he were doing what he was supposed to do.
What have you wrought?
What have you wrought? WROUGHT, wrought. It's like, what has come out of what you've done?
Okay.
If something, it's not like you made it directly, like a little thing, but if something comes out of what you did, that's what you wrought. It's kind of an old-fashioned word, but it's supposed to feel a little old-fashioned. And he asks him that question to say, you have a path to follow. You have a purpose in life. And if you live in your purpose, you're scary and bad. You have scary teeth eyes and you're making people's dreams bad, but that's a good thing for the balance of people's dreams. But if you're suddenly now acting just selfishly, getting exactly what you want, and you are no longer fulfilling your purpose, you're not bringing about anything good, anything positive. You're just useless. And so that's why he takes away his existence, because he's not producing anything.
And that concept is what Dream has learned from his sister.
Right. Yeah. So do you want to talk about that? By the way, that's in Latin in alchemy. I'm very interested in alchemy. In Latin, in alchemy, that's called the coincidentia oppositorum, coincidence of opposites. Two things that are opposite come together to make something. And the thing can only exist if the two opposites are there. And if you have only one side, it can't exist. When they come together, they create the thing. The bad dream and the good dream must exist.
Yin and yang, right?
Yin and yang, it's everywhere. Yin and yang, or yang, and positive and negative poles, light and dark, masculine, feminine. These opposites are kind of universal things, universal ideas. Very important in alchemy.
When I'm having bad times, I always think like, oh, thanks to these bad times, then I will enjoy the good times.
I always find myself, I'm always the one in a very happy, joyful situation with people, that people are having fun and just enjoying themselves. I'm always the one to say some horrifying, dark joke that just makes people feel a little uncomfortable. But I feel like I need to balance it a little bit. When I see everybody's having fun and enjoying themselves, I don't know why, but I always need to, even if it's a funny comment, so it's positive, I have to make some kind of dark, sick joke just because I feel like this is going too far this way. This is becoming pointless. I've got to bring it back a little bit to the middle. which is very selfish of me. Maybe I'm just bored.
You're selfish, but you are an alchemist.
Yes, I'm an alchemist. That's right. Friendship alchemist. Um, is there anything before we talk about death? Is there anything else that you thought about the Corinthian, this guy that we're looking at here, about what he's supposed to achieve, or why he would
No,
disobey or go out on his own, or why he has
I
teeth for eyes?
I did not think a lot about this character, but I know that you have very interesting ideas about that Jungian concept of the shadow. You mentioned it to me a lot of times in the, I don't know how many, 2 years I know you. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think. Yeah, I talk about it a lot.
And I didn't made research about that, but I'm really interested, and I want you to tell us something about that concept first, and then relate it to the Corinthian. Would you like?
Yeah, sure, sure. Briefly, I was thinking about it. I don't think the Corinthian is the shadow. I think that he is just one aspect, maybe, of the shadow. So the idea of the shadow is you have this unconscious. So if there's an iceberg in the ocean, they say that it's just the tip of the iceberg, meaning you only see the top above the water, and most of what you see is this giant thing underneath the water. And actually, the thing that's pushing you forward is the stuff underneath the water. So when people do things, they think that their brain is the thing making the decisions, going around saying, "I'm choosing things, I'm making decisions." But actually, the decision maker is you're not even aware of it because it's your unconscious mind. And one of the things in your unconscious mind that you're not aware of is the dark side that you have. That's two sides that are necessary for being healthy, light and dark. And if you have no understanding of your dark side, then it may control you unexpectedly if you don't know what it looks like, right? So if you're not aware of, because everyone has a dark side, you have to admit first, I have a dark side. If you have no idea what it looks like, then something in the culture may come along like a lever, grab onto your dark side and pull it. And because you have no idea what it is, then it's just going to control you and you're not even aware of it. So maybe a good example would be World War II, right? What would make someone follow a character like Hitler, right? Well, you can look back and say, well, I would never do that. I would never go to the rallies and say, Hitler's great, because people were doing that. And people look and they say historically that, okay, I would stay home. I would never do that. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you would. Maybe you would have. Maybe that would have been you, because so many people are there. Are you going against your current culture now? What things are you doing that are using your dark side that you're not even aware of? Is that possible? It's almost like there's a little dragon. There's a dragon that lives inside of you, and if you don't know what it is, it can completely control you. There's an experiment that happened, I think, in the 1960s called I believe it was the Milgram experiment, where they asked people to push a button to
Mm.
electrocute someone in another room. But actually, they weren't electrocuting them, they were actors. And they would say, okay, go a little stronger. And they would hear the other person in the room going, ah, ah, like that. And
This
then
is
they would say, I don't
scene,
want to,
yeah,
I'm hurting them. Go ahead.
the scene of the Simpsons, right?
I don't remember that
Yes,
episode of The
yes, there is
Simpsons.
one. They're pushing. Ah!
It doesn't surprise me. The Simpsons covers pretty much everything.
One of the first episodes. Very
Really
old. Yes.
interesting. So, but people are pushing that button only because someone is telling them to. Someone's saying, "Push it." I don't want to. It's hurting them. You have to push it. And then they do. They push it. So, I think the idea of the shadow is if you go down into your unconscious and you accept that you have a dark side and you look at the dragon in the face and say, "This is my dark side," then when it starts to come up, you can say, "All right, not today," because you know what it looks like. You know its name. That's the idea, I think.
Hmm.
And so the
Hmm.
Corinthian is he's I think one part of the shadow, and for this they go to a conference with a bunch of serial killers who kill people for fun. This is their shadow controlling their behavior. And when they realize what they're doing, a dream unmakes the Corinthian and they suddenly realize what they're doing and they're no longer being controlled by that part of themselves. Some of them kill themselves and they feel extreme guilt because now they see the whole picture. Before they were being controlled by the dark thing inside of themselves. So that's the basic idea, and I think the Corinthian is just one of the pieces of the shadow.
It is very, very interesting. Something I've noticed that the auto mutilation, auto,
Oh, people who like cut
yes,
themselves, that sort of thing.
there are two moments in the show, and the two of them are related, I think, to that concept you brought.
Yeah, broad.
Uh, the first one is when they can't lie in the 24/7 dinner.
Okay, we're gonna
Right?
get to that after we're gonna talk about
But
death, and then we'll talk about the
I
diner.
think
But yeah,
it's interesting to make an comparison of the two moments where people are hurting themselves. What is the thing they don't have at that moment when they start to hurt themselves, right?
you said there are two. One is in the diner, which we'll talk about, and the other.
The killers.
Oh, okay. So after they wake up, after Dream unmakes the Corinthian, and they realize what they've done or have been doing, then they start. Well, some of them just feel guilty. I think one guy kills himself.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll get to the diner thing. I want to talk more about that. But shall we talk about death?
Oh, yes. Oh, there are a lot of topics.
Yeah, there
Eh,
are. I want to talk about death first, and then get to the diner thing because
yes,
yeah.
I really like it, that character of Death, so cute and kind and also sexy.
Let's see. Here's death. I don't know if you can you see what I'm seeing on the screen?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I can.
Can I just note one thing? So there's one episode, there's a very good one where one of maybe my favorite episode where Dream meets up with his sister,
It was also
Death.
my favorite.
He meets up with his sister, Death. He just kind of hangs out with her as she does her thing, which is to go around and take people who have just died to the next thing, whatever it is. And it's not sad or depressing. She's very friendly. She's kind of smiling, and she's just doing her job. And he's having trouble finding his purpose. He doesn't know what he should be doing, after he finds all of his three things that he was looking for, his tools. He has no purpose, and then he meets his sister Death, and she's just doing the same thing every single day all the time because that's her purpose. And then they have a wager, kind of a wager, where they take Death away from one guy in a bar in the 1200s who says, I would like to not die. And then they just give him that gift and he lives for hundreds of years, which is awesome. If anybody's listening, I'll have one of those. But I want to note before we get into that, the symbol on her around her neck, that's not accidental. So that symbol around her neck is
another thing I didn't notice, that she has that symbol. It's like from Egypt, right?
it's an Egyptian symbol. It was the first version of a cross. So actually the Christian cross comes from this symbol. It's called an ankh, and the Egyptian ankh is a symbol of either eternity or life. So it's a symbol of life being worn by death. Another time that opposites are coming together. Two opposites, life and death, make everything go naturally, right? Because we can't continue unless death happens. So death is wearing the symbol of life. I think that's interesting.
It's
Alchemy,
right?
exactly. But that symbol also is the symbol of, if you would die in ancient Egypt, that would be once you die, you go through the afterlife. You have to follow specific steps to get into the afterlife. And there's a book that you have to follow with, and your family members would give you different things to help you get through the trials so that you could arrive in the afterlife.
There is something interesting that I read also, that a dream is more important than death, because we spend dreaming 1/3 of our lives, approximately.
I only sleep 5 hours a day, so not me.
Not you. Well, but 1/4, right, of your life.
Yes, but that's a lot. That's a big difference.
Yeah, and we only experienced death in one moment, because if we have afterlife, that is life, not death, right?
Right, exactly. I heard a quote recently. Nobody actually dies because or no one actually experiences death. Death is not an experience that a living person can have. So once, because
Mm.
then since life is stopping, there's no way to experience it. It's not even
do you
something that
know
you experience.
do you know that Heidegger phrase, that death is the possibility of the impossibility of all possibilities?
Oh, Heidegger, stop it with that. he's always he's always he's always every sentence of Heidegger is like a brain pretzel. It's very difficult to comprehend. It's so
But this one
frustrating.
is fun.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you think about the character of Death? Why did you like the character of Death and this episode in particular?
Well, I like it that the concept that death is a gift, can be a gift.
If you look at it the right, I think it might be raining outside.
Um,
No, it's just very windy.
we
Sorry, go
we
on.
need um, yes, we need death. It's good to know that you can die.
Is
You
that something
perhaps
that
you don't want to die, but it is good to know that you can die if you want.
you mean because sometimes you'll find yourself in situations where you prefer to not exist than exist.
Hmm. Yes, but that's the wage they make about that character, they are thinking, okay, when is he going to ask for death?
Yeah. And they think that it's, or he thinks, Dream thinks, so they give this guy the gift of immortality, where he's not going to die. Just some random guy in a pub in the 13th century in England. And they think that he's going to wish for death within 100 years, but within 100 years he's loving it. So they give him another 100 years and he loses everything and he's in pain and suffering, but he still wants to keep going. And then, 500-600 years later, he's doing pretty well and he seems to be a little more mature, but he never wants to give up. That's what I think. I think if you could live forever, most people would never at any point, unless they were in extreme pain or suffering, would never say, okay, I've had enough, I'm done. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, death is an important part of life broadly. But if you could live 700 years instead of 80 years, would you say, yeah, I'll take that? Of course, assuming that you're going to be not in extreme pain for 700 years. But if you could live for 700 instead of 80, who would not take that deal? I'd take that deal.
Yes, but there is something that they didn't mention explicitly, is that they are giving him two things. One is immortality, and
Yeah.
the other one is to not get older.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. I assume that.
Yes, but they did not mention that. Okay, what would happen if he is older and older and older? Uh, it will be different.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. Right. Yeah. My theory on this is I think there's nothing wrong with living 500 years. That's my personal goal. Um, I'm pretty sure I'll make it to 500. I'm about 80% sure that I'm going to make it to 500. Maybe more. And I have a plan for it. I'm assuming that cryo technology or stasis technology, because I'm not I don't think that we'll achieve the ability to cure every illness and replace everything within my lifetime. But I do think we will achieve perfect stasis technology so that you could just say, all right, deep freeze, start now. Right? So maybe around age 60, I can just hit the button on the deep freeze and then be frozen until medicine is so advanced that aging is not a thing. So you don't have to live that long. You just have to live long enough to be able to freeze yourself. And then once you can freeze yourself, you can just stay frozen for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, technology is there. They can solve every problem. You wake up, they say, hey, here's the instruction book about the last 1,000 years. Here's your key card. Here's a donut. Have fun, right? Basically.
And you will be a teacher of Old English, the new Old English.
The new old ink? Exactly. Exactly. That's the
Um,
plan.
but what? Forget about the science and technology stuff. Let me be in the land of fantasy and metaphor. What if they tell you that you can live forever, but you can't die if you want? Would you accept that deal?
Sorry, one more time. I was thinking about
Yes.
something else.
Yes.
I wasn't
Okay.
listening to you. I was looking over there and thinking about some. Carry on. What? Say it again.
The death
Uh,
and dream
mm.
comes to you, and they say, I
I would
will
say, hey
give you
guys,
eternal life, but you can't die if you want.
cannot.
Would you accept you cannot?
So even if I fall into a volcano,
Yes, you will suffer a lot, extremely, and you can't decide that you want to die. You can't die. You cannot.
but if I fall into a volcano, the volcano is so hot that I will my everything will be destroyed. How
I don't
can
know.
I
You
be?
cannot die.
Well, does that mean that I cannot be affected by the volcano?
You
How
will.
much? No, I'm serious. This is a serious question because if you throw a person into a volcano, everything's going to burn to the point where you couldn't stop it and say, okay, just your skin is burned. You know, everything. That's how hot it is. You're going to turn into goo. You're going to turn into a liquid. So what is you at that point? How
No,
can I continue to exist as a liquid?
you can't. You will not go there. You know,
Oh
there
no,
is
I
a
will. I'm gonna
no, no,
if
no.
I live.
Listen, there's a film from Luis Buñuel. Do you know that it's like a Spanish film director, very
Hmm.
classic,
Hmm.
Luis Buñuel. He has a film about some people that are having a party and they can't go out. They say, for example, I say, okay, I'm tired about this situation. I
Yeah.
will go out, and when I'm near the door, I don't know why, but I come back again.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is what will happen to you when you are trying to go to the volcano. You are not going there.
I can't get to
You
the
can't
volcano.
exactly. It's a
I just
it's a power. It's a power that it's not allowing you.
well, that means then does that mean I'm prevented from suffering? What is the limit of my suffering that I can experience?
There is
Can I
no
be
limit.
in can I but if there's no limit then I can go into the volcano.
No, that you can't because you will die. There is no limit for your suffering, but you cannot die. Okay? But they will not give you all this explanation, I think.
I'm trying to think about all the ways I can get around your system.
Let me think. Explain me this case.
Can I have a cyanide pill ready? Just like and then so it
No,
won't
you
I
can.
can do it but it won't work. Okay.
I think you will not accept these terms.
Yeah, I think okay, if what you said, yeah, I think probably I wouldn't accept. Yeah. But
Uh,
that's a stupid requirement. I would say why do you have to do it like that? I would say
no, it's not stupid, because death exists. Oh, that word.
that word's
is-
tough. Exists.
yeah, yes, death
Eggs
exists.
exist. Did you know that?
No,
Eggs exist.
exist. No, what is
Eggs
that?
exist.
Ah, okay. Yes, ex
Eggs
girlfriends
exist exactly. Eggs
go to
exist
hell.
exactly.
Ex exists. Ex exists exactly.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Okay. Death exists. So, you know, you can use it when you want. You can go to the volcano, but God, if God exists also, he invented it. Death is
Right.
here for you.
Okay,
Okay?
so death is like a superpower we all have, which we don't appreciate.
Yes,
Okay.
perhaps.
And this episode maybe is a nice reminder that it is something to appreciate, potentially, maybe.
Yes, elves in Lord of the Rings, they are immortal, but they can't die.
Yeah, they can be killed. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And right before they leave, I've always thought when I watched Lord of the Rings, do you remember the Battle of Helm's Deep in the second Lord of the Rings film, The Two Towers?
Hmm.
They're in desperate. The enemy is about to attack, and then they're saved at the last moment. Not saved, but helped by elves. Right, the elves come and elven warriors come, and I always think when I see that scene, they're just about to leave. They're just about to leave Middle Earth, and they have to go and fight with the stupid humans, and some of them are going to get killed. That's quite sad, but
Hmm.
I guess there's an afterlife there too. But I always am struck by that scene when they arrive.
Rings of Power will be released next week, right?
Yeah, yeah. Are you going to watch that? Are you excited about that?
Of course. I watched it yesterday. I watched the first episode of House of the Dragon. It was too gore. I will not watch it.
You didn't like it.
No, no, no. It makes me feel like sick.
Okay. Well, that makes me want to watch it. Okay. Well, let's talk about the diner scene then. So there is a man. His name is John D. He's also called Dr. Destiny. He is the son of the guy who imprisoned Dream. His father is the man who imprisoned Dream. He receives from his mother, who is the mistress of his father, who imprisoned Dream, he received one of Dream's tools, the ruby. And the ruby is the sand, and the helmet thing, the hat. He uses the ruby to kind of change reality as he wants, especially people's minds. He goes into a diner and there meets a group of characters who have their own things going on. One is in love with one of the people who works at the diner. He's a cook. She's a waitress. One is having a fight with her girlfriend. One is going in, getting ready for a job interview. And then there's a there's a couple who are there. One of them seems kind of controlling, and they're there. They're both successful having lunch, and actually they work for the company that the guy who's preparing for the interview is going to interview at. And then this character, John D., which is the name of probably the most famous alchemist of all time, who was the astrologer for Queen Elizabeth I, who had a stone, and maybe that's the connection, called the Show Stone, and he used it to talk to angels. And I saw it in the British Museum. It's in the British Museum. It's pretty cool. So this guy's name is John
He's
D.
the one who there is a language, fictional language of the angels.
Yes, that's
Is
right. Enochian is what they called it. Yeah.
yes, that's the guy who wrote that.
Yes. Enochian is the language that the angels used to speak through the Showstone to John Dee's assistant, Edward Kelly, who was a basically scam artist with no ears who could understand the language of the angels, Enochian, and wrote it backwards in Latin. Something like that.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, so this John D in this story, I think other than the name has no connection. I don't think he's anything like the real John D. I think the guy Roderick Burgess, who actually captures Dream and holds him prisoner, I think he's like John D. He's a Magus. I think he's a John D character. But the John D in this show, he's kind of a psycho. He escapes from a mental institution, and he sits in the diner, and using his ruby, he removes any layer of deception or lies or non-truth from everyone's minds. And so the truth comes out completely unfiltered. And the result is chaos, and people kind of completely lose control of themselves. And at first, sexually, and then they start actually hurting themselves. And eventually, I think they all they all die, right? Um, and he's just kind of sitting there eating ice cream. And he sees himself as a superhero character. I'm going to remove lies. I'm going to make everyone be honest and everyone tell the truth. And he sees himself as a kind of hero in that way. So is that a fair description of the story?
Yes, perfect. I just was remembering that at the end of that scene, when that people are hurting themselves, the women, the three women, I don't know the name. In Spanish, I know it's Moiras. It's from Greek. The
The
three
three fates. They're called the three fates. I don't have a
fates.
picture of them. Yeah, the three fates.
Why do they appear at that moment? When I watched it, I didn't realize why.
Why do they tell him that he's going to destroy the Sandman? Right?
Ah, okay.
No, that isn't that what they tell him. They say that his destiny is to destroy the Sandman.
Ah, fates. What are fates?
Fates are they're the three women who control the destiny of each person, I think. And I think they show up in Macbeth, and they're throughout, I think, Greek literature. They're there. The Fates are female characters who kind of, they don't make things happen, but they can tell you what's going to happen.
Okay,
They
okay.
can tell you
It
about
is
your destiny.
interesting because there is an endless called destiny, and there are also the fates.
Yeah, I think the Fates, they're just sort of like they can tell you what you don't know about what is going to happen. I think maybe I
Mhm,
could be wrong.
mhm.
Let me search
Okay.
that. Anyway, yeah. What did you find interesting about this particular episode? What was it about it?
I don't know, but I did like it a lot. Interesting. Hmm.
The three fates in
I
Sandman.
think. I think.
Among their
Okay.
design aspects are the fates, the three sisters, um, the three or the kindly ones. Let's see. Three sisters. I'm trying to find the
One
fairies.
of them is the actress of the live action version of Aladdin. Do you know that?
No, I never saw that. I never saw that. The three, often referred to as the Fates, are a trio of goddesses consisting of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. The Fates found John Dee at a diner surrounded by bodies of innocent people. John inquired about his future. Though they claimed he had no future, it was bound by walls and guards and the sour smell of madness. In addition, they revealed that he'd stolen some of Dream's power and that he would take all of it before crushing the Dream Lord's life in his hands. But actually, that's the opposite of what happened, right? In fact,
Mhm.
he was in the hand of Dream at the end, right?
Yes, I did like that part, but I didn't understand very well
Yeah.
how did it happen.
Not totally sure about that either. But they show up again later in the bonus episode that came out later, right? Calliope, she asks for help, and they come and tell her they cannot help.
Mm-hmm. Did you like
Um,
extra episode?
yeah, it was okay.
Mm.
Good to know that my cats are out to get me. Yeah.
The
So, well,
end
I want
was fun. That end of the cat doing that was fun.
the diner scene. Um, did you what did you think about the slow change in behavior? What is the author trying to say about people, human mind?
Well, there is that ending sentence of Dream about hope. No, or no, hope. No, that is with Lucifer. No, about they are not lying. It's their dreams, is what he says, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, I think that is interesting.
I think John Dee believes that a lack of truth is a bad thing, but actually, a lack of truth is what allows us to function in the world, and that you have to find a balance between not the truth and the truth. I don't want to say a lie. Let's say not the truth and the
Mhm.
truth in order to get through.
Mm.
Because the truth is that we're all just bags of meat made up of atoms and chemical, but you can't process the world on that level. You can't think about, you can't live there because your mind is not, your mind is a higher level thing, and it lives in the world of uh I'm a person with, and I care about things naturally. You're born and you just naturally want things. You want food. You think something is beautiful. You like the color blue. And so
Mhm.
the way that the brain works in the world is that it attaches meaning to things that don't have any meaning. Like the color blue has no meaning. But when you look at the blue sky, your brain naturally just reaches out, your mind reaches out and says, there's meaning there on the blue. So, okay, why is that? What, and is that a lie? It's not really a lie, but it's something that is made somewhere in here, and we do
Yes.
that all the time. We believe two things at once. Are we lying? Not really. We just believe two different things that don't agree with each other at one time. And that's just how our brains work. We walk around and we see meaning in everything, because seeing meaning in everything allows us to function better in the world. If
Mhm.
you are 19 years old and you go out, so if you look at the statistics of how many 19-year-olds who decide to become a famous actor or actress actually becomes a famous actor or actress, and you look at the statistics and you see that it's like 0.001% of people who try actually succeed in achieving their dream, and you lived by the truth, you would not try. But then if you
Mhm.
ask all the people who succeeded and are famous actors or actresses, what did you do that allowed you to get to where you are? Most of the time they'll say, I was living in my van, and I met somebody and they knew somebody, and I got an audition and I made it. And so from their point of view, the only way to do that is to do the thing that is not, that is insane, that statistically is crazy, but that's the
Mm.
only way to actually make it. So we operate on crazy assumptions, things that are not true, beliefs that aren't based on anything. But that is how we find our way. That's how we find
Exactly.
our way in the world. That's how we function. And it would
Yes.
be, and you can't do it any other way. So when the truth comes out and you don't have that part, it's not that that's the real you coming out. That's
Hmm.
just the balance being off suddenly. You have two sides of yourself. Maybe the shadow comes out because it doesn't have anything to hold it in place. But the idea of not lying is kind of like you can't live without lying.
Yes. Now I'm linking two ideas. One is that concept of the book *Sapiens* of Yuval Noah Harari,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
About these fictional entities that we have, like money, companies,
Right.
right?
Money is a lie. Yeah. Money
Yes,
is the perfect lie. Yeah.
even countries,
Yeah.
and I link it to that idea of the gods existing because we believe in them, and they really exists, right? Because we think money really exists. You can think that is fictional. Well, yes, but it is also true that it exists because all we think it is real. It's interesting
Well,
that
so then you could
something
say that fictional things really exist. That's why
exactly,
dream. That's
exactly,
why
yes.
dream says. That's what I believe. I think things that we say are fictional or not real are not real. But in some ways, those things are more real than real things because the real
Hmm.
things are just the atoms. Maybe that's the real thing. I don't know, but
Yes,
I
yes.
have no idea what that is. I can't live down there on the layer of the atoms. But when I wake up in the morning, I think about a dream I had, or I think about I'm going to make some money today, or something like that. And they're all not real, fictional things, but I feel that they're real. And so
Or
the
when you
feeling that
think
they're
I'm
real is,
American.
yeah, yeah, I'm an American guy. I wake up every morning and I say, I'm Canadian, but I'm still not. So but there's a difference between that, right? If I wake up every morning and I say I'm Canadian, I wake up every morning and I say I'm American. If I did those things, which would be crazy. If I say I'm Canadian, there's something about that which disagrees with another thing also in my head that knows that it's not true on the level of so it's interesting. They're both neither of them are real. They're both fictional,
Don't
but
you
one
know it
fiction is
works?
more true than another.
It works stronger if you think about a country that is near to yours,
Yeah,
right?
the closer it is, the more real it is. No, I think that would be the idea
No, no,
of
no.
truth.
The more difficult to think that's true. I think it's more difficult to you to think you are Canadian than to think you are Mongolian, right?
Um, why would it be different if it were closer?
I don't know because it's the significance about what is real to be Canadian is stronger to you, right?
Maybe
And you
that's
know you are
interesting.
not.
Yeah, that might be true. I think that comes down to our idea of what truth is. And truth is when there's something deep inside that you know, but there's another part of yourself that doesn't admit that you know it, right? Like, um, you've been trying to be a famous actor for 10 years and you still haven't made it. And you know that you should stop and change paths, maybe. But you keep
Mm.
telling yourself, the next time I'll get it, next time I'll get it. And the more you do it, the more there's a disagreement between what you really know deep down and what you're telling yourself. And so there's a disagreement between two kinds of reality. And
Mhm.
truth is the one that you know deep down. But that's truth is still just a fiction. It's just a fiction that is closer to living a healthy life or something like that. It's still fictional, though. They're both fictional.
Yes.
What makes those people lose their minds and eventually start injuring themselves and eventually killing themselves in a diner?
Let me excuse me. I want to tell you one idea and then we can go there. I always think about this. If you were an Egyptian pharaoh,
Egyptian
pharaoh,
pharaoh. Yep, Egyptian pharaoh. Yeah.
pharaoh, you had the best health existing health possibilities for your health assistance, right?
Yeah,
The best.
you have the most resources to live a comfortable life as a pharaoh
Exactly.
for that time.
Exactly. And you will think, oh, this is good life. I have the best health assistance, right? And you feel great.
But no
But
Coke
you
Zero.
what?
No Coke Zero.
Yes.
No
But
PlayStation
compare
5.
yes.
No Fortnite.
The no, but I think the worst health assistance today is I think could be the same objectively objectively
Objectively. Objectively.
objectively will be the same than that pharaoh would have, right?
Yes.
And he was, oh, this is amazing, I have the best health assistance. Well, that's the idea
Maybe we
I
can
wanted to
say
share.
maybe we can think of it as a standard of living. We could say standard of living. I think about that a lot. Some kind of even you don't even you have to go back to ancient Egypt. You can go back 200 years. If you go back 200 years, you you're not driving around in a car. You have to interact with horses a lot. There's still plumbing might be there, fine, but it's easy to die from infections, and the expected life expectancy is still maybe, I don't know, in your low 50s, and you don't have air conditioning in the summer, so you feel hot, but you don't know the things that you don't have. So you define comfort as getting away from what people at that time consider to be uncomfortable that they deal with. But now,
Yes,
if you go back, if my air conditioning breaks, that's like a nightmare for me. That is unimaginable. If my air conditioning stopped working for 20 minutes, I would be upset. And if I couldn't go to the supermarket and buy Coke Zero or play video games, my life would be bad. So it's all just your it's something subjective expectations, because in 500 years people are currently saying the exact same thing about us. They thought that air conditioning was comfortable. They thought that Fortnite was fun, right? They're saying it right now about us, and we have no idea. And the most comfortable we can be is what their homeless people experience.
yes, of course. And this topic is the worst when you think like uh, if you live imagine to live in a time when there is some people that has access to immortality and you don't.
Well,
That's sad.
that's why I want to freeze myself.
Imagine that they freeze you and when you woke they say but you are poor, you will not access to immortality.
Well, I would say, well, freeze me again. I'll
Okay,
wait
okay,
until you I'll
that's
wait
that's
until
a
I
good
can,
one.
yeah, until there's no money or something like that.
I
Put me
didn't
back in.
interrupt you a time ago. What were you asking me?
No, I asked about in the diner scene why you thought everyone became self-destructive?
I don't know. I don't know. That's one of my questions. Yes,
Mm.
enigma.
I think that it would be a adjustment shock. So when I traveled to India and I spent quite a bit of time there, and there was some kind of layer of spiritual energy that I felt when I was there, because I was
Hmm.
engaged in. I was always looking within myself, doing yoga and meditation regularly. I didn't have a job at the time, and I was trying to just explore myself spiritually. Then I flew back to the United States and I arrived in Seattle, and I immediately became extremely sick. It's the most sick I've been in my life, I think. I was sick for 3 days. And along with my sickness, I kept having weird dreams of I would look up at a building and the building would fall down, and I would realize that it wasn't a building. It was sort of like, a movie set where it's just the front, and there's just some things behind it, some wood supporting it, and then it falls
Human
down.
show.
Everything is shallow and thin and empty. And I think I had what's called reverse culture shock, where you're shocked by your own culture when you come home. Everything in the city just seemed empty, shallow, and I thought that I was in a flat world.
You
And I
know, people from Argentina here, when they travel to the United States, that I did not, they say that they have that kind of experience, that
It's interesting.
all is like a movie in a good sense, and in that sense you felt.
Empty.
Yes, like
Spiritually
scenery,
empty.
scenery,
Yes. I felt that
scenery.
kind of spiritual emptiness when I got back, whatever that was. And I think it might be the same because I adjusted after a few days. I got back into the wavelength of the culture, and everyone can adjust, I think. And so maybe what happened was when he used the ruby, he took away one half or one side of the coin, and it's like if you let go and it swings to the other side, but it stays on the other side. It's a shock, and because they're used to having their little personal story in their head about what their life is and what's true. Some of that's made up, or some of it they're lying to themselves. Whatever it is, you have your little thing in your head that allows you to move forward each day, that gives you meaning, and you take away one side of it suddenly. It's the same sort of thing. There's a shock moment, and
Mm.
they would have adjusted to that maybe, but the shock caused them to first go, as they were sliding to the other side. It was sexual, and then it was mortal. So they eventually all went to harming themselves, and maybe the shock of thinking that they don't have a story anymore and life has no purpose forced them into that position. So
Mm.
I think that's what it was supposed to be. That's what I took from it.
That's a nice reading. Yes.
Yeah. But then the answer to that would be, if you know, if you try to know those things about yourself, that you have that you're capable of those things,
Hmm.
then if your one of your dreams is destroyed, because you see people who they lose a dream and they get depressed for months, and it takes them months and months and years to recover from losing that dream.
Mm-hmm.
If in your head you explore those possibilities and you say, if I lose this dream, who am I? And there's a deeper core of knowing yourself, including
Mm-hmm.
your shadow, the dark side, the light side, and knowing that you're not all of those things that you believe, but there's something more that you are. Then,
Mm-hmm.
when one of those is cut away, you lose that thing that you thought was you, then you don't completely fall to the ground. It's like a little a safety net, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think people often tell themselves that I am all of those things. I
Mm-hmm.
am. There was my neighbor at one place I lived. He had a really nice car that he and I. There's some people who have. Let's say there's two people who have a really nice BMW. One guy who has a BMW has it because it's comfortable, it's fast. I don't know. It's just my car, but it happens to be a BMW. And the other guy has a BMW and takes pictures of it and cleans it every day and loves that. Has a plate that says BMW guy, right? My neighbor was the second one. He one time he had to show me he wanted to recommend something, and he wanted to show me what he was recommending. So I saw his phone screen when he was looking through his photos. All of the photos besides the thing that he wanted to recommend me were pictures of his car. Just car. And when I would come back home, he would always be cleaning it and just in love with this car. So my sense would be that if he suddenly, I don't know, couldn't afford the payments for the car anymore and had to give it up, or the car was destroyed and he couldn't get the same one, he had to get a Honda or something instead, that he my sense was that he would be the one to completely lose the balance, get really
Mm-hmm.
depressed for months because he's no longer that guy with that car. But the other person who has that same car doesn't care that they have that car. They just
Mm-hmm.
have that car and they don't attach their who they are to the car. So they're a little
Do
bit
you
more
know? Do you
stable.
know that Osho? No, I don't know how do you pronounce it.
Osho, yes.
Yes, Osho. He has several Rolls Royce. Do you know that story?
Is that the story of the horse and the sun?
No, no, no. A story that not fictional. He had a lot of Rolls Royce.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he said that he had those, but he didn't care, as you are saying now. But he is the extreme because he's like a spiritual guru, and he has a lot of Rolls Royce.
But he doesn't attach his meaning to having those.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I got out of that episode. I think is that if you don't know who you are on a deeper level, then you're in a dangerous position. Anytime life changes suddenly, you are at risk of uh, becoming very depressed, for example.
Hmm. Yes.
Anything else on the diner scene you wanted to talk about? I have a couple other things I wanted to mention, but
Go on.
okay. Uh, well, there's the story arc at the end with Rose Walker,
The
who is
vortex.
this character known as the vortex. And the
Hmm.
vortex is a natural phenomenon that nobody knows why it happens, but suddenly there's this person who is the vortex who can move between dreams. A dream hacker or something.
Hmm.
Uh, and she has a little
Something
brother
like.
who she's looking for named Jed. And there are people who are after her. The dream needs to kill her because that's what the vortex has to die. She ends up not needing to be killed, but she's looking for her brother. Her brother is being held captive by his aunt and uncle. His uncle's a pretty evil character, and in his dreams, he's being entertained by another dream character similar to the Corinthian, but she's not an evil dream character. She's just
The
hiding.
gold.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of stuff that happens around that with the people who live in the house that she stays in, and her grandmother, who is supposed to be the vortex. It's kind of complicated to explain. Is there anything around that stuff that you found really interesting, or that popped out at you?
Um, yes, yes. Not especially, but well, I did like that there were those characters named Barbie and Ken. Hey, look, you might want to change the background picture.
Oh, right. Let's see what I've got. Have I got? Good call. Thank you for reminding me. I've got this one. Oh no, not that one. No. This one. There we go. How's that?
Mm-hmm. Great one.
And then also there's this lady who's dreaming about her boyfriend who died, and she gets pregnant in a dream, and it's real because the
This picture
vortex.
looks like a generic picture of a brand of to sleep beds bed. Well,
Like an
that
IKEA.
thing
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
exactly.
It doesn't look real. It looks like an advertisement. Although, if it were an advertisement, he doesn't look very happy. She looks happy. His face is not so nice. He looks a little
That's
bit
true.
zoned out. The other characters we didn't talk about, there's Desire,
Mm.
and Desire is one of the ones who causes her to become the vortex instead of her grandma.
Mm.
And
But not very developed in
no,
this
no, no. I
season.
think that's coming up for the next one. We haven't really talked much about Lucienne either, but I think she's a very interesting character.
Mhm.
She's very
There
cool.
are good acting in a lot of actors,
Oh,
right?
fantastic acting. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so let's anything on the so his purpose is he has to kill her, or else she's going to destroy the entire dream realm if she doesn't die. But
Mhm.
she's not even supposed to be the vortex. It's supposed to be her grandma named
Mhm.
Unity Kincaid,
Mm.
who had a child with Desire, who had a child named Rose Walker, who is the vortex.
Do you know
Thoughts?
that illness of the people who couldn't awake?
Yeah,
Uh,
during the time when Dream was a prisoner, there was an illness called something encephalitis that meant that they would go into a coma and live in a dream.
encephalitis lethargica.
Encephalitis lethargica. So basically, they're living in a dream world. They have entire lives, but actually, they're in a coma.
Do you know it is historic?
Oh, really? Is that real?
Yeah, yes. Um, Also known as sleeping sickness. I'm reading it from Wikipedia.
Doesn't
It
sound so
was
bad.
no, but it was related to the First World War.
Go ahead and read it.
I, a little bit. It's interesting.
What are the symptoms other than sleeping? Is it just sleeping?
I don't know. I will need to read it again.
So her grandmother, uh, her
But it was
grandmother.
It was a epidemic.
Really? I didn't know that that
Yes,
was actually
and not
real.
recurrence of the epidemic was since being reported,
Interesting.
though isolated cases continue to occur.
Occur?
Occur, right.
Okay. Um,
The disease, I'm reading, attacks the brain, leaving some victims in a statue-like condition, speechless and motionless.
so they're not sleeping; they're just laying there, awake.
Yes. Hmm.
Hmm. The one episode in this arc that stuck out to me was the episode called "Collectors." Collectors is in the there's a convention of serial killers. They're murderers who kill for because they enjoy it, not for money or anything. And
Hmm.
they have a convention. They get together, and they all revere uh, um, the Corinthian, who is kind of the person they admire most.
They call themselves collectors.
Collectors. That's the name of the episode is Collectors, and the Corinthian wants to take Rose Walker, wants to get to Rose Walker because he somehow needs to use her power as the vortex, and so he brings her little brother to this collectors convention, and meantime Rose Walker is with another Dream character that Dream makes, uh, uh, played by Stephen Fry. I forget his name in the show, but he is actually not a person, but a forest or something, a park called Fiddler's Green, in
Hmm.
part of the Dreaming.
Very
And the
nice.
stuff that happens in that hotel is quite interesting. The most disturbing thing is that these people are on the surface, they seem like such, or the way that they speak to each other, it's not the image that you would get of a psycho or a serial killer, a crazy person. They seem ordinary. They might behave in a shy way, or they might be playful or make jokes. They just seem like normal, ordinary people. But
Except
except the
of
fact that they're yeah.
the pet pedophile.
Well, he just acts like a regular sort of nerd character.
Pedophile.
No, he not in particular. He's
Yeah.
kind of just a nerdy guy. So I mean, it's interesting the way that they behave, and um, the fact that it all happens in this one hotel is, I think it speaks to. Well, I was thinking about why this all happens in a hotel at a convention, and why they're all like this. They behave so ordinarily. It reminded me of the story of the BTK killer. The BTK killer is one of the more famous serial killers in American history, and he was a normal citizen, uh, well known in the community, very ordinary, but he was a serial murderer. And I think I hate to bring everything back always to the unconscious, but I think it's something about how in particularly in Western culture, we are encouraged to hide our any sort of thing that is out of line with the norm. If it's
Mm.
out of the line of the norm, then you're supposed to just kind of bury it. I think this comes from Christianity. You're supposed to just sort of, well, maybe not all of Christianity, but the one I grew up in. If you have anything that's weird, instead of saying, "Hey, this thing is not normal that I'm feeling things that are not normal. Who else has this feeling? Can we talk about it? I mean, what's going on here?" Instead, we just say, "Here's my public face, and I'm gonna everything else that I find strange about me, I'm just gonna hide that away.
Mm.
And I think that's maybe what this is getting at, the hidden part that allows there to be a clear difference between how people interact with each other and maybe who they are underneath the surface. Um,
Mm.
and especially how some cultures are more and less like that. And I think modern Western culture is starting to open up more and be more open about if you say something that is shocking, maybe that's a good thing because you're revealing something about who you really are. And now that it's out in the open, other people can feel safe to say the same thing, and then it's not being repressed, right? So I don't know. Did you have any thoughts
Yes,
about
I
that?
think it could be related to the to be civilized minorities.
Hmm. Can you say more
Could be
about
related.
that,
No.
please?
No, no. When you said that about normality, I thought about Foucault
Hmm.
and his thoughts, and I think, well, he was he liked that stuff of bondage and
Hmm.
sadomasochism. They say it was important to him to develop his theory about being not normal, that he sexually, well, he was gay also, so he was interested about that thing you mentioned, right?
Have you read Foucault?
No, I don't read anything. I only listen to podcasts about
Oh,
books.
but you read a lot of Wikipedia articles, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I listen to podcasts and read Wikipedia.
Does
That's
Wikipedia
me.
do you think Wikipedia can capture a subject well?
I read Wikipedia, but very critically,
Hmm.
critically, right? Because I know how is it made, how it
Right.
is made. I know how. So I know some articles can be very well written, and some cannot.
So yes,
Well,
you have to know that not everything you read may be 100% accurate, but it's a lot better than reading nothing. You can gain a lot of insight and understanding from it.
exactly. And I this can be interesting for viewers, that I started to read a lot in English because Wikipedia in Spanish is not so well written, and not so rigorous. Rigorous.
Hmm.
Do you
Rigorous.
have
Yeah.
that word? And for example, that article about that language of the angels, how was it named?
Enochian.
Enochian. In the Spanish article of Wikipedia, they say that it is a language of the angels. But in English, they say it is a fictional language that is supposedly created by angels. You
Right.
know,
Yeah, that's a
that
big
difference.
difference. That's a big difference.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I read Wikipedia articles usually to get quick information. I don't usually read entire Wikipedia articles. I'll go in, find what I think I need, and then go out. I rarely read an entire article, almost never.
I think it's the same for me. Yes.
But I like to read books and try to understand topics deeply. I like to try to
Mhm.
understand a subject that I'm interested in deeply. So I'll read 6 books on one subject rather than 6 books on 6 subjects.
Hmm.
Because if I'm not interested, I can't force myself to read it. I
Yes,
can't do it.
and with the book, you are interacting with that author.
That's right.
Is a person in the other side with his style and humor. Is better than reading an encyclopedia. Yes,
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Well, not better. It's just it's a different. You're doing it for a different reason. Wikipedia is a source of information. Reading a book is an experience
exactly. Yes,
more than
Wikipedia
just.
is colder.
Yeah, exactly. Cold is a good word to use. I agree. I agree. Well, is there? That's all that I had written down. Is there anything else that we missed or that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention or that you wanted to discuss about Sandman?
Yes, I think the final one could be what do you think about the main character development and his personality? I think it's very fun.
Yeah. What did you find fun about it?
I think it's fun that he looks like a emo teenager.
Yeah, he does look like an emo teenager.
Emo. Yes.
Yeah,
And um,
I want to
I don't
talk more
know.
like that. I want to just have a very quiet, peace, kind of even voice all the time, whispering. That's what I want. I wish I were like that.
Yes, he's like a very wise and
Not,
sometimes like very stupid also.
yeah, he's not that wise. He's
Yes,
stubborn.
he is. No. He sometimes he is. For
Uh,
example, when he tells John D that this is their dreams and not lies, that's wise.
I agree. Yeah, when it relates to things that he understands in his realm, then he's
Hmm.
wise because he's experienced. But
Exactly. Yes.
outside of that, he's not.
Hmm.
He does a
Yes.
lot of, and he's very stubborn.
Yes.
It's interesting that he's changing as a character toward the end of the show. He goes from, or season one, he goes from being very stubborn and fixed about, okay, I created you to be a nightmare and you don't want to be a nightmare. I don't understand. So I'm just going to destroy you, basically. That's a sort
Mhm.
of classical Greek god characteristic. Greek gods, if they don't like something, they just destroy it sometimes. Or maybe even Christian the Christian God, Yahweh, that character sometimes is inflexible. But to
Mhm.
be adaptable and to change and allow things to change, he's showing some maturity, which is interesting. At the end, he allows a nightmare to become a regular dream.
Mhm.
I forget that
Yes.
character's name.
And he did not kill John D. Also.
He didn't kill John D, and he didn't kill Rose.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Rose the
No,
vortex. Well,
but
I guess he didn't
he.
kill the vortex because yeah, he had to kill the vortex. He killed the vortex, so it just
Mhm.
wasn't Rose. It was her grandma. Yeah.
And if her grandma weren't there, he would kill. I think he wouldn't
Sure.
kill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's the other part that I found interesting about the whole thing is there's this underlying sense of dharma or Tao. Um, if you've ever read the Bhagavad Gita, it's a very powerful story in the Bhagavad Gita about Arjuna, who's standing between two armies in the middle of a battlefield, and he's torn about whether to proceed with the battle because his cousins, his family member, are on the other side, and he will have to destroy them. And he's conflicted, and so he has a conversation with his charioteer, who's actually an avatar of Vishnu, and Krishna, an avatar of Vishnu. And so Arjuna finally, after a long conversation about how to live, how to practice yoga and meditation, how to live in line with your dharma, he the answer is not don't fight. The answer is destroy. destroy the other armies. There are times when the right choice is not necessarily the one that most people would say is, let's say, peaceful or nice. It's
From that
you.
part is the excerpt of Oppenheimer, the famous one, right?
What?
That famous sentence that pronounced
I'm.
Oppenheimer.
Yes,
Yes.
Oppenheimer says, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." That's from the Bhagavad Gita, and that's something that Krishna says when Arjuna asks Krishna to show me your true form, and he can't handle it. It's too horrible because what he sees is not a god that's beautiful and perfect. He sees that at first, and then Vishnu shows him a giant mouth filled with teeth destroying every single person because everybody dies, and it's too horrible for him to comprehend. And
Mhm.
then Krishna says, I'm become death, destroyer of worlds." And so there's the double aspect of God, the character of benevolent, perfect, good, but also the other side, which is necessary. But the
Mhm.
point is that you have a role to play in life. And if you understand yourself, you can live authentically.
Mhm.
And sometimes you have to make a choice because you know it's the right choice that might not agree with what the world tells you is the right choice. Not sometimes those two are the same, but sometimes not. Like you feel you're you feel like you're being crushed by your career. You every single day you just feel dead inside. And deep down you want to start your own business or something like that, and you know that it's going to be scary, but the world is telling you, just keep the job, just keep working, this is what you're supposed to do, but you can't because it's not authentic. And so what do? Do you kill your soul and just keep going and suffer and then retire and then die, or
Mhm.
do you find a way to live authentically? It's the same idea in and the Chinese idea of the Tao. The Tao is the sort of the natural current of nature, and you flow with the river. And if you go against it, then it's not like there's something that's going to cause bad things to happen, but you're resisting the natural flow. And if you go with the natural flow, that doesn't mean do good things or do bad things. It's the same idea as dharma, kind of. You go with the natural flow, you you will find that things work out for you and you feel good. You feel balanced in life. You're living the right way. I think there's something to the way that Dream has to be. If you say, "Oh, Dream's a bad guy because he's killing the vortex," or Dream's a good guy because he didn't kill John D. Or if you're making little moral judgments on either side, you're trying to do some mathematical equation to figure out who's good and who's bad. It doesn't work. What you have to understand is he has a purpose, and he's following the purpose, whatever that is. And that's a
Yeah.
common theme throughout the show. Same thing with Death. Same thing with Rose Walker, who finally realizes, if I have to sacrifice myself for my friends, I will do that, even though I don't particularly want to die. I think that's quite
Mhm.
powerful.
Yes, and that's why I didn't like the ending of Lucifer and Desire. Like we are the evil ones. We are
Yeah.
going to kill.
I think that was Netflix saying we need a teaser for season 2.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. All
I,
right. Well,
I
that's
hope
all I've got.
I hope we will have that second season.
Well, yeah, if people haven't seen it, check out the show. Now you have this conversation as a bit of background, maybe. Well, thanks for doing this, Pablo. I hope to do another one of these sometime because I enjoyed it. Um, uh, let's talk about what we're gonna do next.
Yes.
And to those watching this Friday, we're going to do a regular English class, English lesson as we usually do, with topics and Q&A and stuff as usual. So stick around for that. Anything else, Pablo, before we go? I'm going to grab some lunch. I'm starving.
No, I was only wanting to thank you. It was great, Luke.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you doing it. Appreciate your time, and I appreciate the conversation. I feel like I have a bit more of a perspective on the show now.
Mm-hmm. The same for me.
Thanks, Pablo. Thanks, everybody. See you on
Bye.
Friday.